Okay, mic check, mic check.
Mic check,
I think there's still... Oh, there you are.
Mic check,
Microphone
mic check.
checking.
Okay.
We're checking our microphones. Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome. We are gonna make an episode called Ask Me Anything.
Woo.
The deal is that we are both hosts. We're both podcasters.
Mm-hmm.
We're both black, and we're both artists. So we got a lot in common.
A lot.
I feel like we're always in a position of being very curious with other people.
Well, you wanted to interview me, and I was like, absolutely not.
I want to interview you.
I want to interview you because I'm also very curious about you. So we're going to be asking each other questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm nervous about that part, but I'm ready for it. So,
okay.
Welcome to Ask Me Anything.
On the next Homegoings, a double interview with two black podcasters, me, Myra Flynn, and Saidu Tejan-Thomas Jr. We're calling it Ask Me Anything.
Does anything mean everything?
You're going to ask anything, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get an answer to everything.
Cocoa butter or Vaseline?
Cocoa butter. Mm-hmm. Co-host a nationally syndicated radio show with your nemesis, or make music that no one listens to.
Music nobody listens to. So, welcome to the show Homegoings.
Thank you.
Now you know what it is.
I'm so happy to finally be on, man. I've been such a fan.
Thank you. I'm such a fan of you. So, Said has, your resume is insane. He's a host, he's a podcaster, and has had a show called Resistance that was on Spotify and Gimlet. Did you win a Peabody?
Yeah. Thank you.
You came here when you were 8 from Sierra Leone?
Yeah, I was 8 years old, lived in Virginia, in Northern Virginia. That's where I grew up, and went to school in Richmond, Virginia, down south, and then moved to New York about 2017, 2018.
You're 30.
31 now.
You're 31 since last night?
Did I tell you I was 30 last night?
Yes. Happy birthday? What? What's happening?
No, I'm a Sagittarius, so my birthday was in December.
Oh.
Yeah, it was December 8th. And
Okay.
you know that thing that happens when you turn an age, but you don't quite feel it yet?
I know that you do. Yeah.
That's how I feel. I feel like I always say, I have to constantly remind myself that I'm 31 now, which is such a weird age. But yeah, I'm 31.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're just a baby.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I feel like an old man.
Well, you have a Peabody. You should. You definitely should. Nobody gets that for doing anything light. So I'd asked you at right when we sat down, if you knew what a homegoing was.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe.
Maybe, yeah, because it's one of those words that I feel like I just used context clues to figure out what it was, but I didn't quite know. I thought it was just a sort of kind of celebration or something after being away from home for a long time and returning and being given that celebration, yeah.
Those of us who know what a homegoing is he close?
Damn, what the? Not the collective,
Yeah, so homegoing is a traditional Black Christian funeral that is super celebratory. Besides the dead body in the middle of the room,
right?
Everybody's pretty much eating great food and singing and dancing and partying, and it's a celebration. And I've always thought that was a really appropriate way to talk about how it feels to walk around being black-bodied, regularly.
Yeah.
You're both celebrating and mourning.
Right.
Always.
That's a bar. That's a bar.
Listen.
Yeah.
I feel like the show, it's those goals. And I think some people will be like, why did you name it after a funeral? And I'm like, no, it's deeper than that.
It's deeper than that.
Yeah.
Deeper than rap. Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
I totally identify with that because I feel like I am that all the time. You see me at a party, I'm lit. I'm having a great time. Yeah. But when I sit down to write, oftentimes it's very reflective, very sad, very I'm memorializing things. And I think that is also a representation of what is the Black experience? You are holding those two things at the same time.
Always. Even when you're smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to start off with the Ask Me Anything questions. Is it really anything?
Anything.
Anything.
It's anything.
Does anything mean everything?
I mean, you can ask anything. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get an answer to everything, but you can ask me anything.
All right. Oh, Lord.
I'm very eager to ask you my questions.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Play the game.
Yes. Let's play the game.
Have you guys ever played Would You Rather? Yes. Yeah. Look, somebody was like, you knew we was about to play that game.
Like every day.
We're going to play Would You Rather. And what the game is essentially is like I ask her sort of lightning round a bunch of questions and she has to answer like very quickly. She can't think. Like, for example, would you rather New Balance shoes or Chuck Taylors? That's a softball version of the game.
Oh, God.
And she has to immediately like answer the question. And she's going to have 30 seconds to do it. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. All right. Go. Okay. Telekinesis or telepathy?
Telepathy.
Okay. Finish a bad book or never have time to finish a good one?
Finish a bad book.
Be an African queen 1,000 years ago or an average person in the year 3000?
African queen.
Co-host a nationally syndicated radio show with your nemesis or make music that no one listens to?
Music nobody listens to. Okay. Nobody needs that.
Okay. Yeah. Apple pie crust or peach cobbler?
Apple podcast or peach cobbler?
Apple pie.
Oh.
Damn, that's it?
I told you 30 seconds was really quick.
You were right. Like, can we do that again?
I told him a minute. He's like, a minute's too long.
Yeah. All right, let's get a minute this time. Let's get a minute. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Fareen.
All right. Apple pie crust or peach cobbler?
Thank you for the enunciation, peach cobbler.
A third eye or a third ear?
Ear.
Spend a week in the freezing cold or the blistering heat?
Blistering heat.
Okay. Lose your voice before a big show or be loud as hell and be wrong about something? Time.
Lose your voice before a big show. Yes. Lose your voice. Lose your voice. Ay.
Collab with Sade Adu or Beyonce?
Sade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Share an on-screen kiss with Idris Elba or Denzel?
Idris Elba.
Rather be accused of plagiarism or plastic surgery?
Plastic surgery.
Okay. Settle down in Vermont or California? You gotta answer. You're a real one. You have a plant in the audience. I should have picked somebody else.
Is it my turn now?
It's your turn, yeah.
Okay, I'm a little slower.
That's fine.
But I'm not as mean.
That's good for me.
All right. Editor or host?
Ooh. Host. I'm a bit narcissistic. Maybe host.
Host, all right. Like a love that's kind of okay or being alone and feeling great?
Oh, God. A love that's kind of okay. Oh, no.
Oh, gosh. All right. Brooklyn or the Bronx?
Brooklyn, absolutely.
All right, calm down. All right. Earrings or necklaces?
Earrings.
Really, really tall socks that are kind of dope and fresh, or really, really low ones that like sit below your ankle?
Really tall socks that are dope and fresh.
Cool.
Of course.
Shaving chest hair or leaving it?
Shaving it.
All right. Cocoa butter or Vaseline?
Cocoa butter.
Gold or silver?
Gold. Always.
Pizza or donuts?
Pizza.
Okay.
Pizza.
Is mac and cheese a side or a main dish?
Mac and cheese is a main dish. Yeah. I don't know why I just said that, but yes.
Are you black or are you white?
Race is a social construct.
Oh, Lord. No, sir. All right.
Nice.
Do we know each other now?
I think we have, I think we have a good foundation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's off limits for you today? Like anything you'd like me to stay away from?
No. I mean, I think what's beautiful about this show is that it is so radically honest. And I think that's what I try to do also in my work, is ask that of other people. So I'm always open to asking that of myself and other people doing that, because I think that's, I like getting in the messy, you know what I'm saying? Like in the actual, just like in the true messy truth of it all.
Okay.
That's where the gold is. Here's the thing, right? Here's a question that I'm actually trying to ask, because I went through this when I was making Resistance. Mm-hmm. My show is about protesters. It's about people. The tagline is people refusing to accept things as they are. So that lends itself very well to protests, but, we cover other things as well. But I don't think that I would have been able to really make that show the way I was able to make it had a man not been killed on camera in 2020, George Floyd, where everyone was sort of scrambling for the opportunity to have a say in the conversation, to be on the right side of history. And it's not that I don't think that I would have eventually had my own podcast, because a
lot of guilt podcasts out there.
Right, but there was a lot of like sort of like guilt money going around, where people wanted to very much seem like they were on the right side of history. And so I'm not quite sure when you started the Homegoings, but I am curious about like how you came to it, and if you felt any of that sort of weirdness.
Yeah, I don't know a Black person who, after George Floyd's murder, didn't feel like they were either a prophet or a unicorn.
Damn, that's a bar. Yeah. It's
a really weird place to be. Or still a Negro. It was it was the weirdest thing. Mm-hmm. I have a journalism degree. Haven't used it in such a long time. I used to write for a newspaper. Took 20 years off after I got laid off back then. And so I was like, I'm going to go back to music and just see what happens, because maybe I've got more job security in me, right, than a job. And I did that for like nearly 20 years. Yeah. And then I had this newborn baby, Avalon, and we were in Pasadena, California. And 3 months after I had her, the world shut down.
Right.
And LA really shut down, because all the outside places were where people gathered the most. So they shut down the beaches, the hiking trails.
Damn.
Like outside was not a thing.
Yeah.
Then, yes, George Floyd's murder in Pasadena, California came with protests that some that were unsafe and some that were very close to our house. And so it was this thing with my husband's Black and being like, I don't even want you to go to the grocery store. And we had a newborn baby. So we, couldn't leave our house because you'd get sick, or you couldn't leave your house because you're afraid to get shot. And then the Bobcat fire started 5 miles from our house. And that was just like creeping down the mountain outside of our house. And it was at that point where I looked at my husband and I was like, we're moving back to Vermont. And I hadn't lived here since, it had been such a very long time. And my husband hadn't lived here since like junior high or something like that. And so we were like, let's try it. We're going to make it cool. There's other cool stuff happening. Like, well, we're going to be great here. And we came, and it was at that point where I realized, I totally forgot about this kind of racism. It had been a really long time since I felt that, like, I'm a good white person racism. Been a really long time since I'd felt that, like, I have every sign in my yard, but I'll still call the cops on your husband in a dark alleyway at night kind of racism.
Right, yeah.
I remember my husband and I went to the grocery store, and some guy came up and he's like, hey, and we're like, hi, like, do we know you? And he was like, how do you all feel about the police?
Oh.
And my husband literally had a baguette in his hand and my daughter in a wagon in the other. And we were just like, I looked at my husband, and this was like the 90th time this had happened. And he was just like, dude, I'm just trying to go home and cook dinner with my kid and my wife.
Yeah.
I remember it was the 1-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder. And so there was this mad scramble of like, the anniversary is coming up. What are we going to do? And I remember being like, well, if we're going to do something, we should do a lot of something and not stop doing it.
Right.
And so it was a little bit of like, yeah, Black girl, you go ahead, but it was awesome, because the show I was on, which only operated on listener questions, said, Myra, you can make a series about Black people here. And they gave me the green light under the umbrella of their podcast.
Yeah.
So I called it Homegoings. And then we had a big performance where I took the artists who were in the podcast and put them up on stage for a big performance. And it went so well. I kind of walked in the office and the vice president at the time was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I want this to be a real show." And so I kind of fought to just make this my whole job. But I'm a public figure here. I sing here and I'm on the radio now. And, I always reported a lot on identity, and the people who didn't like what I was reporting about could find where I was performing on my website. Do you know what I mean? And show up. And so that changed a lot because now I had a baby in the audience. Oh, no. And then I would go to other places and they'd be like, "Will you come speak about DEI for us? Will you come? Can we put your face on the brochure of the thing
just to be clear,
for us?"
Do you have like a DEI like background and expertise, or they were just assuming that you did?
I had exactly the amount most of us had at the time. Yes,
Right.
yes, at the time.
Which was more than they had.
Which was maybe not.
No?
I mean, I was just a person walking around trying not to get COVID. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was strange.
I feel like the work that you were doing on Homegoings kind of aligned with the work that I was doing on Resistance, because you talk about race, but race is almost secondary to people's humanity on your show. That I feel like is a hard, to me it wasn't hard, and I think to people who see and understand us as we are, it's not a hard thing, but like for some reason you look out there and it feels like there's a lot of content or shows or whatever that don't do that. And it didn't feel like your show was like that. It very much felt like your show was about who are you as a person? What are the things that you're dealing with on this earth, in your humanity?
I lose sleep over the show a lot because of what you're saying, of like the boom bust of the podcast industry, particularly with folks of color. Yeah. We were last hired, first fired in many situations. And I don't think I've said this, I am exhausted, I don't know what I'm chipping away at on this show, but it's definitely something toward humanity. And I worry all the time that it's for optics, or that it's not real. Yeah. Or that I'm not teaching the people who need to be taught, or that the people who don't need to be taught and just want to live life and enjoy it and be Black and, live are getting something from that too. It's like doing the splits every day. But then I have like something like this and like the crowd looks like this and I'm like, yeah, we're on to something. Yeah.
We're on the right track.
We're on the right track. I'm not going to let this boom bust. Yeah. Just like slowly, steadily chip away at humanizing us.
Yeah, I don't want it to boom bust either. Something bad happens, then it's like, oh, now we need Black voices, Right. And it's always temporary. Yes. And I'm frustrated with that. And I don't want that to be the case anymore for anybody.
I think when I met you, you said we all saw that window open and we all knew exactly when it was going to start closing.
Oh, absolutely. Because when it was open, it was wide open. It was like I think
you get a car and you get a podcast.
I was like,
I
was legit like, is this what it feels like to be white? Because this is this is great. Like everyone's listening to me. I go to a meeting and my word holds weight.
I know.
And you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm in the room.
Yeah, I can ask for something, and even though there isn't even though there's pushback, eventually I can kind of like get it. But at the same time, I was like, oh, this ain't gonna last. Like this ain't gonna last. And so yeah, we were seeing that window closing as it was opening at the same time. This is why I'm also like really interested in a way envious of what you've been able to cultivate, because I feel like in a sense, I kind of gave up, right? I was kind of like, before this window closes on me, I'm just going to walk out.
Right, because you don't want that pain.
No, I don't want that pain of having felt like I was used. And so to take matters into my own hands, I just kind of ended my own show and walked away.
Do you think we do that as Black people? You think we sabotage our own trajectory at times because it's easier than watching somebody else like hurt us in all the ways we're used to being hurt?
I've seen it happen, and I think I've seen it happen in my own life as well. It does. I think we do. And it's because it's painful. It's because you don't want that rejection. I mean, who wants to feel like they are less than? Who wants to feel unwanted? Be in these rooms and just thinking like, oh, maybe I don't deserve to be here because of whatever reason, right? When you're super capable and you have all the skills and you might be even more capable than half the people in the room, but you're doubting yourself because you've learned to doubt yourself to get to where you are. You've learned that you've learned to use that doubt. And I've learned to use that doubt, that self-doubt to sort of prove the voice in my head wrong, right? Like whatever voice was implanted in there, I feel like I'm consistently working to prove it wrong because I have to. Otherwise, I won't get us far, you know? And I think like a lot of Black folks do deal with that. But then I sit in rooms with a lot of white folks and I don't think they've had a doubt a day in their life. And they just are very much like just doing their thing and saying whatever and producing all kinds of work that I'm not impressed by. I don't know. Personally, I try my best to remember that I am African. There's a sort of sense of being special. When you're an African boy growing up in an African household. Your mama thinks
you're very special.
Everyone thinks I'm special. So I try to remember that. I try to remember that the people in my family think I'm special, right? I try to remember that I come from a background and a people who, you know, in Sierra Leone, everyone is Black. Like your mailman is Black, the store clerk is Black, the bank teller is Black. It's an affirming experience. So like I come from that kind of stock. I come from the stock of people who know their worth, who know that they're not gonna accept less, who know that they're also hard workers, right? Who know that they're gonna do whatever it takes to get where they need to get. So I try to remember that even in this country where for so long, since the day I stepped off this plane, stepped off the plane to come to this country, I have felt like, you know, maybe I'm not as good as everyone else here.
What brought you here?
Well, it was war. I remember being really close to my family, sort of huddled up while war was happening outside. I don't even quite remember who was fighting and why they were fighting. I mean, now I do, but at the time I didn't. And when the war ended, my mom had already came to America before the war. The war, I think, was like her motivation. Like it put a fire kind of under her ass to like get me over there sooner. Mm-hmm. And so she filed papers for me, and you know, I came over as a refugee. So it was definitely sort of like fleeing instability because we didn't know if the war was going to start again. And yeah, then I went from that environment where I loved it. I loved every second of growing up in Sierra Leone, except for, you know, the war times. And even those somehow were magical somehow. Like everyone in the building we lived in hid in our basement, in like the basement of the house. And we sort of like, we all slept there. Like we all had this little like village in the basement of this house. My sister would cook these big meals and we would all eat together, whispered together while soldiers were passing by so we wouldn't be heard. Like it was a very communal experience, and I enjoyed even every second of that, right? And so yeah, when I came here, in a weird way, it kind of felt like, because I was a child, I think I was able to sort of blank out the war a little bit. But when I came here, it felt like real war.
On the next Homegoings.
I think when I first came here, I felt a lot of dissonance.
I feel like America wants to do that to you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, become American, leave all the rest behind. I feel like you have a little bit of a homegoing going on inside of you.
I have people in my family who look at me and they're like, we can't believe you made it. You're one of them cocky transplants from a small planet that no one's ever heard of. You're one of them immigrants who crash landed in some cul-de-sac somewhere far, far away from home.